Alright, after 5 years of making videos, I have only kept 4 lenses and I've tried probably around 10. And today I'm just gonna talk about the 4 lenses I decided to keep, and probably I'm gonna stick with these lenses for a while and not purchase any other ones, probably for a good long while. But let's start off with the 85. I'm just gonna start off with whatever I grabbed. So this is the 85 1.8 FE lens by Sony. And it's a really solid lens. It's my favorite one for like photography, whenever like portrait photography especially, or like taking headshots of people. I always pretty much use this lens right here. And it's one of my favorites for like also talking head. Like if you have the time to set up like a boom mic or a lav mic and you're able to mount it on your camera and be like a distance and set up the shot and everything, it's really nice and pleasing. Like one of my favorites for like having bokeh and whatnot. But I know they're like, if you're a photographer or if like you're a professional, like these lenses are gonna be like, oh, like they're not quite good enough for me. My use case is like I'm a hobbyist. So if you're also like a hobbyist, then I feel like these will be good enough for you, because most of these are under $1,000, unlike a lot of like the G Master lenses and stuff that I also got to try out at a certain point. But one of my absolute favorites, or one of my absolute favorites, I was about to do a different one, but this one is the FE 2.8 90 millimeters macro lens by Sony as well. Pretty much all of my lenses right now are by Sony. This one is a really solid lens. I feel like macro lenses are kind of underrated. This one can get really close to the subject, and I use it for every like product photography, product video shot that I've like ever done. Like I feel like I cannot use a different lens when I'm recording like photography or recording like objects. Like this one's just perfect for it. Like something about it just feels more fun than any other lens I've used. Like this is probably the most entertaining lens I've ever used. Like I can't think of another lens where I had like so much fun basically. But yeah, this one, super solid. I think it's well known that it's a solid lens, and that I feel like you have to have like a macro lens in your kit. So that's why I'm keeping it, and we'll probably like never sell it unless a different macro lens comes out that's like significantly better. But then the last one I have on the table, the third one, is the Sony 20 to 70 millimeter. I'm looking for, there you go. There's the zoom ring, and then you can see how it extends quite a bit. But this one is Sony FE4. It's F4, so it's kind of like maybe not low enough for you. I used to come from Tamron. I had the Tamron 28 to 70, I believe. That was f2.8, as well as the Tamron that was, I think it was 17 to 28 millimeters, and that one was also pretty solid. Both of those lenses I enjoyed very much. Those were my first lenses, and I like them a lot, but I felt like whenever I was stuck at 28, I wanted to like either move back more or have like more wide view of what I'm looking at, but I couldn't get that. So this one is 20, which is like really wide. It's 4 away from 16. But I literally just sold my 16 to 35 today, F4, the PZ one. And that one was really solid. I brought it to Japan last year, and that was the only lens I really used in Japan. Really solid for vlogging and like going around and recording, but I don't really think I'm going to do that with my Sony cameras anymore for vlogging. I'm just going to use my iPhone 16 Pro for that, since it has a really nice like camera overall, and I can use Apple Log to record. If you're curious about that, I have a Skillshare class, but I'll leave a link down below for that. And then for this one right here, it's just super versatile, like the one that I was just holding, the F4. Like I don't mind that it's F4, because usually when I'm outdoors and recording and filming, it's pretty bright, and even in darker settings, like it's a Sony camera. I'm using a Sony a7 IV, or back then I was using a Sony ZV-E1, like really good low light performance. So it didn't really matter that much as long as you're using the right ISO settings. So yeah, that's why for me, like I brought this to Japan as well at a certain point, like 2 years ago, and I was really satisfied with the results of like the photos and everything. Like personally, as a hobbyist, like this is more than good enough, I feel. and it's really light compared to a lot of the other ones. I had a chance to try out the, like my friend's G Master like Mark II, the 24 to 71. I think it's 24 millimeters to 75 millimeters. I'm not, or just 70. I'm not sure. But either way, that lens was pretty heavy, and it's really nice and it looks good. And it's 2.8, so it's better in low light. But overall, I feel like the one that I have is the one that I will keep, just because of that extra 8 millimeters or 4 millimeters, depending on where you're coming from. Like 20 millimeters is like pretty good, pretty solid, pretty wide. Like you just got to back up a bit more to make it like match 16 millimeters. And I feel like I'd rather carry that around with me compared to the 16 to 35 because of the extra, you know, 35 to 70 millimeters that you have access to, which I like zooming in. I feel like it adds a lot to the shot, basically. And then the final lens that I have is right there, the one that I'm currently using on my Sony a7 IV, which is the Sony lens that's 35. It's a prime lens, just 35 millimeters, so f1.8. It's the cheaper one. I think it's like one of the cheapest lenses that I have, but it does the job, and it's like really solid. It's the one that I pretty much use the most because I record these videos with them, with that lens, basically. Really, really good focal length for talking head videos, because if you have like a teleprompter, you just stick it on, you can read the words really clearly. Unlike the 85, if you have the 85, you have to back up quite a lot. So like the teleprompter is gonna be far away, you can't really see what is going on. So most of the time I just use the 35 millimeter one, and it's really solid. 1.8, f1.8 is really nice to have, basically. So these are the 4 lenses. I feel like if I had the money, replacing this one, the 35 millimeters and the 85 millimeters, with maybe the new lens that came out, which is f2, that ranges from 28 to 70 millimeters, like that would be perhaps a good replacement. Although those lenses are really heavy, or that lens is really heavy compared to like these two, which are prime lenses, which are really, really light, like easy to bring around with you. So it's kind of like a trade-off. You're carrying 2 lenses versus one that can zoom and stuff like that. But I haven't tried that lens out yet, so I don't know about the, like how I would like it, you know, pros and cons with the weight and how the image quality looks and everything. But for now, these 4 lenses are gonna be it for at least the next like 3-4 years for me, probably. As much as I like buying new lenses and trying them out, like I think that I'm good now. I've also owned the 70 to, what was it, like 180 millimeters from Tamron. I don't remember the exact focal length, but it was like the trio, basically. The wide angle one, and then the primary sort of like variety focal lengths that you would usually use, with the 28 to 70, and then 70 to 180 is like telephoto. But I hardly ever used it, surprisingly. I mean, like that thing was pretty big and a little heavy, so I didn't like carrying it around. I used it maybe like a few times, and then I just sold it. So that lens, I guess I wouldn't really recommend, I suppose. I feel like there are other ones that are better. But honestly, it's whatever your purposes are. For me, obviously, I didn't need it, so that's why I sold it. But that's pretty much my journey with like lenses, in the E-mount lenses, basically, in the Sony space. And it's been around 5 years now, I think, that I've owned a Sony camera. I've owned the Sony a7 III, a7C, this one right here, the a7 IV, a6600, like lots of experiences with Sony cameras and the lenses, and I enjoyed it a lot. But I feel like I'm finally settling down to just like 1 solid camera and 4 solid lenses. If I only had to buy one, I'd probably just buy the 20 to 71. Like that one's the most versatile one. And then maybe also have one more, like the macro lens, that can also probably do portraits really, really well. That's probably what I'm going to actually bring to Japan, since I'm going to be there for a while. And that's one of the main reasons I've been trying to like slowly make my kit smaller and smaller, because I'd rather not just like leave my kit doing nothing here while I'm in Japan for like a couple months, you know? So just having a smaller kit in general was the goal, and it seems I've finally accomplished that. And I just wanted to talk about like the final version of my kit. Of course, down the line, I'll probably be upgrading, but for now, I'm happy with this. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Let me know down below in the comments also what lenses are like your primary ones like that you're sticking with. Okay, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.